Hello everyone, I'm finally doing this after what has been way too long. Some of you might know me from my Instagram at lovelucyclaire, otherwise you might not know me at all, but my name is Lucy and I am very passionate about eating disorder recovery, about breaking free of issues around body image and just generally mental health, specifically when it comes to expectations around beauty and the body and all of that jazz. And so that's really what this channel is going to focus quite a lot on. It's going to be very conversational, and then every now and then maybe we will venture off and do cool things together, but yeah, that's kind of the gist of it. And hopefully I will be posting once a week, so yeah, I'd be so happy if you could follow me. But I did ask some questions, and I feel very bad because I asked for these questions a long time ago on my Instagram, and it's been a slow process to get to this point. But these are like recovery related questions, and I thought it would just be a nice way to for you to get to know me, and these are such great questions. The only thing is they are questions that require so much depth that I think what they're really going to be more like is I'm just going to skim the surface, and then I think what I'll actually do is take a lot of these questions and create an entire video around them. Yeah, so that's the plan of action. Just in terms of credentials, I have a master's degree in educational psychology, and I am about to start my internship as an educational psychologist. I am an anorexia recoverer and recovered anorexic, and I have 6 years of teaching experience at an all-girls school. So yeah, I am also a personal development life coach, and yeah. But I'm not coming here as an expert, I'm coming here as a person who just cares very deeply for this topic. So this is obviously not therapy, it's not anything like that. This is just me as a fellow sufferer kind of holding out my hand and saying, let's walk this road together, let's have these conversations, Anyway, so yeah, these are my opinions, not professional opinions. So the first one is, how and where is help available? And obviously this very much depends on your country, but I thought I would just use this as the first question, because what's so powerful to me about this question is the resilient attitude behind it in terms of like help-seeking behavior, and seeking help is one of the most important things in recovery. And here is Dash. This is Dash. He is the co-host of this channel. You are Dash. If he will oblige us, he will be here. He is the emotional support animal that we all need. Hey. Alright, so yeah, just in terms of, it's so important for our well-being that we are able to seek help and believe that we are worthy of help. So yeah, I just thought that was a really positive question to start off with. The next one is, do you have to be calorie conscious obsessed to have an eating disorder? And absolutely not. And I think this is actually really important, because I think we have a lot of kind of stereotypical views of what eating disorders are, and we also we get like fed a lot of messages about what we can expect an eating disorder to be like based on other people's experiences online, which is, there's nothing wrong with that at all, it's really important. But if in some way what we experience is not fitting in with what is sort of being put out there, then it can make us question, do we have an eating disorder, and so on and so forth. And so I think that's a really important question. Funny enough, for me personally, I never had a calorie counting calculator in my head. I know some people do have that. I never had that specifically. I just had a general sense of a fear of foods that I associated with high calories. I didn't necessarily have the knowledge to be completely fixated on that, and I never sought that knowledge out explicitly because it triggered me so badly. So yeah, it's everyone's experience, as similar as it is also going to be different. The next one is, how did you cope with gaining weight? I refuse any help with doing that, and it makes me so much worse. So there's no doubt about it, weight gain is one of the most difficult parts of recovery, especially if you're and there's Daisy, if you have a restrictive eating disorder where you've potentially lost quite a lot of weight and now you're gaining weight, and it is very distressing. And I think the best thing to do is hopefully be in some kind of treatment where you can talk through your emotions, where you can discover what the underlying messages are that you are holding on to and sort of associating with weight and where your body looks. But also I think sometimes it is, in the moment, it's actually about distraction and just about focusing on other things, and hopefully also getting more excited for a life beyond the limitations of your eating disorder. And maybe through balancing it out, you're able to in some way recognize that being in a lower weight body doesn't actually allow you to live a full life, and so that's just a payoff, but ultimately it's everything about it is positive. So yeah, I think also just knowing that you're not alone in those hard feelings. They are such hard feelings, and I need to speak about that in more detail, but as I say, I'm just skimming the surface. What are eating disorder things nobody talks about? I think that is such a good question, because I think specifically online, there's certain topics that we don't very easily discuss because we feel maybe a little bit embarrassed, because it's quite easy to kind of speak about the almost more glamorized things, or the more the kinds of things that anyone can relate to, like calorie counting or gaining weight. But there's much deeper psychological things, and often things that are almost like embarrassing, and that from an outside perspective they'd be like, oh, that's disgusting, or why would you do that, or like even like the lying that sometimes happens and what you'll do to protect your eating disorder. I don't think we always speak about that because we feel in some way ashamed, and we really shouldn't, because it's not us, it's the eating disorder. But yeah, I definitely think there's a lot of things that we should actually be more open in discussing, and I will definitely do that more on this channel as well, because it is important. The next one is how to maintain recovery. Every time I try to recover, it never lasts long. I always go back to my eating disorder. I think for me what's really powerful is recognizing that recovery, and I know we see this a lot, it's not like there's not like a final destination, a final start and a final destination. It's very much just a journey, and sometimes even when you feel like you're going backwards, you've still learned more and you're still growing. So it's all just, you're just like, it's a road. And I think it's just not about a road with many turns. I think it's just not about feeling angry with yourself, but also I think you need to like hold on to that drive and that motivation of like, I don't feel happy that I've regressed. I want to keep moving forward. And I think even that voice is a powerful indicator that you're still on the right path, even though you might not always feel like you are, if that makes sense. But obviously the very practical things are doing the hard work of seeing the different healthcare providers that are available to you, and under the right supervision, just pushing yourself outside of what's not necessarily comfortable for you naturally, because unfortunately, you do sometimes have to be brave enough to break through certain barriers to actually see change, if that makes sense. How to avoid self-sabotage and fall into eating disorder again. I love your content. So I guess this feeds into that other question, but I just don't like the word self-sabotage, because I feel like we need to speak kindly to ourselves and be compassionate about our journey, and I don't think it's self-sabotage. I always just think you're doing the best you can with what you have in that moment, and it just means if you're falling back on an eating disorder behavior at a specific time, or after a certain situation, or just because of where you're at, it's all pointing to a deeper need, and maybe just that you're needing to learn and grow in that moment. And so I don't want us to speak like self-sabotage. It's not that. It's just you're doing the best you can with what you've got, and as you continue to grow and as you continue to learn more about yourself, you will develop different ways of coping, and maybe ones that are more constructive. So yeah, just don't give up, I think, is ultimately the message. What's the key to switching from quasi recovery to full on recovery? So I don't know if this is controversial, but I don't fully love the word quasi recovery. I feel like it's a bit I feel like it's almost quite judgmental in the sense like that person's in like a fake kind of recovery, or that's not real recovery. And I don't think there's such a thing as fake recovery. I think it's just, as I've said, it's a path, it's a journey, and it's going to be different at different stages. And if you just keep persevering, you'll make breakthroughs all the time. So I don't know why. I just think it's because I feel like often online the term quasi recovery is almost used quite judgmentally. And I think there's this expectation that a person has to have like the specific narrow view of what a fully recovered person is to be recovered. And I think the little steps that people make are hugely significant to being fully recovered, and that can involve not being completely at ease in every situation with food or with your body, but the progress you've made is so noteworthy and should be celebrated. And so we don't need to be using words like quasi recovery. I don't know, maybe I'm just like oversensitive, but that's just something I sometimes think about when I see that word. So to get to full recovery, I think you're just continuously on that journey, on that road of progression, which has backwards and forwards, but all the time you're learning. But also I think I've been in recovery for over 10 years now, and I can just see like every year how I improve, and how even though like in terms of being like actually having a full-blown eating disorder, I haven't had one for a long time, but I can definitely see like there's been little niggles, and like it's amazing how just with time I've overcome those things just by being, I guess, consistent, but also I think having more hopes and dreams for my life other than just being consumed by my body or food. And so I think that's also just enabled me to kind of push through to grow and develop all the time. And I think that's, I don't know, I think that is just what it is. It's constant. Compulsive exercise to keep weight under control. I've struggled a lot with my relationship with exercise, and it's improved so much over the last probably 3 years. And so I'll definitely speak more about that, because I feel so empowered now in my exercise and in my experience of exercise and in the experience of moving my body, where it used to be so punitive and it was such a trap. I felt so trapped by exercise, and I just don't feel like that way at all. And it's amazing how I guess ultimately the easiest and best way to describe it is just freeing. I feel free when it comes to exercise, and it's liberating. Because to be kind of constrained by exercise is just like any other eating disorder symptom. It's just like a form of hell, honestly. How to deal with food comparison, especially with extreme hunger. So food comparison is a really difficult thing, and it's something that, once again, I can definitely say over the last 3 or 4 years I've seen myself improve so much in. I think for me the most important thing is realizing that I need to do what fulfills my needs, and I can't be worried about what other people are doing to fulfill theirs. So even if I'm with someone who's like banting, dieting, or doing something that involves not eating a certain food group that I used to have a fear of, like carbohydrates, I'm eating pasta because I know it's what my body needs, and it's not even that it's what it needs, it's what I want. And if the other person is not doing that, that's their decision and that's their body, and I can't speak for their body and what they're doing. I just want to be the best for myself, and I want to do what's good for me. So that's the best way I can describe it, is just trying not to worry about what other people are doing and just thinking about, what does my body need? What do I need to be my best? And yeah, a lot of that has to do with eating the food that feels good and right for you and not worrying about what other people are doing. But I know that's really hard, and as I said, I will address this in more detail at another stage. And then the final question is how to want to get better. And I think I did not want to get better when I went into treatment, and when I kind of decided I didn't want to, but I did. And I feel like even like I feel like there was always this part of me that fought it, like I wanted it but I didn't. And I can only say that with time, and I'm sorry, I know it is so much about time, and maybe that's frustrating, but just with time, if you just hold on to the hope that actually your life might be better without this eating disorder, that with time, positive change happens and you start to want it more, if that makes sense. Like initially you don't want it, often it's very scary, but just with persevering and accepting that you're going to have moments of moving backwards, and then there'll be moments of moving forward, and then there'll be times when you meet in the middle. When you kind of get little inklings of recovery, and when you start to kind of have those moments of like, oh my gosh, I can actually just go and have like coffee with a friend, or oh my gosh, I can actually make a cake and eat it, like, or I can actually just skip the gym today because I'm not feeling well and I actually just don't feel like going. Like, I think when you have those little moments, you're like, actually I want this, like I want this more than a number on the scale, or yeah, a certain clothes size. I want wholeness and fullness to my life, and yeah, it's just, it happens over time. And also just choosing other things that you love and pursuing them, and not being restricted to a life that's actually not really serving you well, and realizing that there is just so much more to life and there's so much more potential in you than what your eating disorder is telling you. So yeah, anyway, as I said, I will definitely be kind of addressing this all in much more detail and having lots of different discussions about different things. I am also very passionate about health and fitness, and I have a lot of issues with the health and fitness industry in terms of what it promotes, especially when we consider eating disorders. So I will also do some more like commentary style videos discussing different issues within the beauty industry, the health and fitness industry, and yeah, how we can break free of all of that to be our best selves. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this, and I would be so honored if you would subscribe to this channel and also go and follow me on Instagram, so that yeah, we can continue to build this community. Thanks so much for watching. Bye everyone.